what if you could go back in time and take all those hours of pain and darkness and replace them with something better?
High school feels like the end of the world. Every bad decision, embarrassing childhood nickname, traumas both mild and severe, culminate in 4 years of imprisonment, general population for some and solitary confinement for others. The prison gangs choose the members of their cliques, some of them vying for supremacy and some of them just trying to survive. Even though most of our existence will occur after high school, at the time there doesn't seem to be anything after high school. We are socialized by high school in such a way that we assume, often incorrectly, that who we are during this time is who we are forever. This is the end of the world. These years, somehow, are supposed to be the best years of our lives? You can imagine how disappointing that is for anyone who is not one of the cool kids, and chances are you don't have to imagine because you were not one of them. I first heard about Donnie Darko when I was in college, but not from any college student. I was working at Record and Tape Traders, the hip music store chain in Baltimore, Towson, and the surrounding area. It was on display, and something about the cover intrigued me enough to go to my local video rental store and check it out for $1 a day. I'm dating myself a little here. Spoilers for Donnie Darko, by the way. Do I really need to say that? Did anyone click on a video about Donnie Darko and think I wasn't going to talk about the movie? Donnie Darko cheats death. A jet engine crashes into his bedroom while the teenage boy is sleeping on a golf course. Donnie begins to have visions of a hideous rabbit named Frank, telling him that the world will soon end. He goes about his high school life as best as he can, dating Gretchen, the new girl, wasting his time with sycophantic friends, and getting into arguments with his conservative teacher and a self-help guru. Frank inspires Donnie to cause trouble, flooding the school and setting fire to the guru's home. Gretchen dies in a terrible accident. Donnie seemingly travels back to the beginning of our story, awaits the jet engine, and dies. Because of this, Gretchen won't go to the party that eventually led to her death. The movie ends. I'm leaving some things out. When Donnie Darko was released in 2001, the internet was starting to catch fire. Although many of us logged onto the internet in the 90s through America Online, or in my case the Netlink modem on the Sega Saturn, the early 2000s was when it started to become commonplace for everyday use. There existed a singularity between the point where it was weird to use the internet and weird not to use the internet. YouTube did not debut until 2006, which meant that there were no explainer videos for Donnie Darko. In 2001, Wikipedia had only just begun, and nobody was really using it that much yet. We were all still asking Jeeves. With fewer resources, we sussed out the details of our new cult movie on message boards and dedicated Donnie Darko websites. One interpretation was that this was simply a modern version of an occurrence at Owl Creek. His life flashed before his eyes, and he imagined what might have been. The epilogue with Gretchen was his last thought, trying to rationalize his senseless death as something noble. He saved a young woman that he did not know. Another interpretation is that the events of the film are happening, but the more unusual occurrences are only in Donnie's mind. He is suffering from delusions. As he says, he has emotional problems and has been in therapy for some time. The end of the film, in which Donnie dies, is a delusion as well, brought on by the trauma of losing his girlfriend and murdering the man responsible. A hotly debated topic was the existence of Frank. Was Frank real? Was he imaginary? What was writer-director Richard Kelly trying to say? The more literal interpretation, the bare-bones facts of the movie, is that time is the fourth dimension, and sometimes this dimension is corrupted and must be corrected, or else the tangent universe created by this corruption will implode in on itself, endangering the primary universe as well. In Donnie Darko, a tangent universe is accidentally formed, and an artifact that should not exist in this universe must be expelled by a living receiver, a chosen one on a cosmic mission, perhaps assigned by God himself. Anyone Donnie kills is among the manipulated dead, and anyone Donnie knows is among the manipulated living, either consciously or unconsciously guiding Donnie to use his powers to save the world. And we know, in no uncertain terms, that this is the plot of Donnie Darko because the director told us so in clear, unambiguous language in the director's cut, released 3 years later in 2004. Throughout the director's cut, we are shown overlays during critical scenes in the movie that explain the philosophy of time travel, which also doubles as the inner workings of the film, the manipulated dead, the tangent universe, and everything else that was merely implied in the theatrical cut is laid bare in the director's cut. Imagine if, in the final cut of Blade Runner, rather than simply implying that Rick Deckard is a replicant through imagery, Harrison Ford instead looks right into the camera and says, "I am a replicant, and I have been this whole time." That's the director's cut of Donnie Darko. This caused a few problems for admirers of the film. For one, it eliminates any other interpretation of the film as simply fan theory that is not supported by the text of the film. A film can be about anything you want, but if that interpretation is explicitly contradicted by the text, or not supported by the text at all, it becomes more of a pet theory or headcanon and never really feels like it's part of any meaningful discourse. For another, Donnie Darko touched a lot of people, especially young people fresh out of high school like myself. And this supernatural sci-fi explanation made some of the more human elements of the film feel washed out and suddenly unimportant. I think I'll make myself a little vulnerable here and say that I identified with Donnie, a troubled teenager who just wanted things to change. I relate to him less when he's the chosen one, in concert with the manipulated dead, and charged with becoming Jesus Christ 2.0. There is another problem with the director's cut, but in an entirely different and more complementary way. The director's cut also gives us more time and character development to Karen Pomeroy, Donnie's English teacher, and Jim Cunningham, the self-help weirdo with a dark secret. These expanded roles are actually quite welcome, as these characters did not really feel that fleshed out in the theatrical cut. I also prefer the opening song in the director's cut, Never Tear Us Apart by INXS, but that's more subjective. That's just one of my favorite songs. See, the problem with the director's cut is that a lot of it is really good, but in order to watch these scenes and listen to the updated soundtrack, we need to watch the cut of the film that spoon-feeds us the plot and machinations of time travel. The additional scenes are generally not superfluous. They were always supposed to be in the movie, but Richard Kelly was told to cut about 20 minutes of the film. I wish there were a version of Donnie Darko that retained the additional scenes but removed the overlays. If only we could go back and change things. Oh wait, we can. What am I talking about? I edit all of my videos. This is literally what I do for a living, and you can too. So the other day I simply made a version of Donnie Darko for myself. I placed both versions of the film in my editing software, chose which scenes to keep and which to cut, removed each and every philosophy of time travel overlay, and voila! I now have a version of Donnie Darko on my computer that explains enough to be coherent, but not enough to ruin the movie. This is my best version of Donnie Darko. No, I cannot upload it to the internet. Your best version might be something different, and that's okay, whatever you want. Now, some purists might object to this. Isn't this like colorizing Citizen Kane? You can feel that way, sure, but this makes a lot of sense to me in this case. Editing the movie is changing time. It feels thematically acceptable. Much like Donnie, I have time traveled through both cuts of the film to make one cut that expands on the theatrical but leaves enough ambiguity for the story to still have the same emotional resonance. The unknowing, the primary universe, the theatrical cut, and the tangent universe, the director's cut, have been merged. I guess Vegas Pro 20 is the living receiver or something. This is becoming too strained. Anyway, you can do this too. You just need to rip the footage with a free application and then make some basic cuts with a free or inexpensive editing program. What's stopping us from making our own versions of our favorite movies? Fans have been doing this for a long time. It feels nice to have resolved this, at least for myself. Things could have been better in high school and every day since, but we don't have to accept what we are given. We can change things. We can't rewrite the past, but we can write the future. It wasn't the end of the world. Hi everyone. Making videos has been my full-time job for pretty much my entire adult life, and I'm able to do it because of my patrons. So if you'd like to support the show and keep this going, go to patreon.com/renegadecut, or you can just like this video and subscribe to my channel. See you soon.